Welcome back to PlayasGuide. On this episode, I'm talking about shmups on the SNES, or shoot 'em ups for those of you who absolutely hate the term. I used to hate that term too, but I've learned to adopt it because the fact that when I say shoot 'em ups or shooters, people usually seem to think that I'm referring to an FPS, which I'm not. I'm not a big fan of FPSs myself. I really love shoot 'em ups. My favorite are horizontal, but there's plenty of vertical shooters that you're going to find on this list too. Trad, which is the first installment of one of my favorite shoot 'em up series, is a vertical shooter that provides its players with a two-player option. It features a variety of different power-ups, bombs, and a fair amount of continues, making it a well-rounded game. There's a ton of enemies to blow up, but because of the balance of power-ups and lives, this game is not overly difficult. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this shoot 'em up, and I would recommend it to anyone. If you're looking to play or collect shoot 'em up games for the SNES, Trad is not too difficult of a game to find, and it's usually priced at less than a lot of other shoot 'em ups on the SNES. Phalanx is a game often recognized for its cover art, which features an old hillbilly playing a banjo. At some point you've probably seen this game and passed it up because you never knew what it was. I know I did. It's a horizontal shooter and a pretty good one. Like many shoot 'em up games, Phalanx has a variety of different power-ups and missiles. Phalanx has a great level design and interesting boss battles, which should keep you coming back for more. In recent years, Phalanx took a price hike, so while it may not be expensive, it's not cheap. However, because it is an uncommon SNES game with an odd cover art, you might get lucky and find a copy for under $10. Super R-Type is the sequel to R-Type. If you're familiar with the R-Type series, then you're already familiar with the style of gameplay and mechanics. If you're not familiar with R-Type, then Super R-Type is a great starting point to introduce you to this franchise. It's a well-balanced shoot 'em up with several different weapon upgrades. Enemy patterns are somewhat predictable and totally random at other times, keeping Super R-Type a familiar but challenging game. R-Type is known for its unique cannon, which can be charged up or released and installed on either the front or the back of the ship. Super R-Type, as good as it is a common SNES shoot 'em up and can be found fairly cheap. Aero Fighters is one of my favorite shoot 'em ups on the SNES. It's a vertical shoot 'em up with a straightforward power-up system and limited number of bombs. There are 4 character fighters to choose from, each from a different country: Japan, Sweden, US, or UK. And an additional character if you beat the game. If you play a 2-player game, your comrade will also be from the same country, and you will play together simultaneously. Aero Fighters has alternate endings for each of your characters after you beat the game. I highly recommend playing Aero Fighters if you get the chance. The stages and boss fights are a ton of fun. Aero Fighters is a very rare game for the SNES, so if you do get the chance to play it, don't pass it up. This game is very expensive, so keep an eye out for it. Thunder Spirits is the 3rd installment in the Thunder Force series. A very similar version of this game was released on the Sega Genesis as Thunder Force 3, a more appropriate name. This horizontal shoot 'em up will have you blasting your way through 8 different planetary stages, destroying tons of robotic aliens. Each stage has its own boss fight and a variety of different power-ups throughout, which will fill your screen with explosions. Thunder Spirits is a common shoot 'em up on the SNES, and you should have no problem finding a copy. It's not the cheapest game on my list, but it isn't expensive at all. Gradius is one of my favorite shoot 'em up franchises. I own a version of every Gradius game and have played through a ton of them, so Gradius 3 had to be in this video. Gradius has one of the best power-up systems, which allows you to select a power-up of your choosing by collecting power-up icons. The power-ups accumulate, making your ship Viper Vic overpowered. If you die, you lose all of your upgrades, making things very difficult. Gradius 3 has many familiar enemies and enemy patterns from the previous games, so if you enjoyed other Gradius games, you can appreciate the consistency Gradius 3 has to offer. Gradius 3 is a common SNES game and is inexpensive, so pick it up. Thanks for watching my video on SNES shoot 'em ups. I hope there's some that looked interesting to you because there's some great games worth checking out if you haven't played them already. If you have, leave a comment below what you'd like to see in my next shoot 'em up video because I will be making one. I might cover NES or Genesis or some other console. Please like and subscribe to the channel just like every YouTuber on the planet Earth tells you to do, because I would really appreciate it. Anyways, later players.